welcome. I'm going to turn off this. So we are in an amazing class that I call it workshop, not a lecture. And we are going to see what is the difference between a lecture and a workshop. The name of our, what is this one? That's new. Okay. The name of our teaching or our work together tonight is Touching the Amazing Power of Love in Our Hearts. Is it actually possible to touch the love in our heart? What if you don't have love in our heart? What are we touching? Well, the rabbis teach us that as long as you have a breath and you breathe in and you breathe out, and hopefully all of us do that sometimes, as long as we have a breath, which is a neshima, we have a soul, which is a neshama. And we have a breath, and then we have a soul. We have love in our hearts. The love in our heart exists. Sometimes what it doesn't exist is our connection. Our awareness, the love in our heart. And that's what we are going to do together tonight. Tonight we are going to work it out together to see how do we touch the love in our hearts. Before we move on, a quick comment. As I said before, it's not a lecture. It's a workshop. What is the difference between a lecture and a workshop? In a lecture, we are more kind of passive. We can sit there, we can think about what we are going to cook for our kids or grandchildren on Shabbat at the same time. We can do so many different things, and then the lecturer is talking. It's like a little bit of performance. They are acting, we are listening. Workshop is much closer to what we can call workout. What is a workout? The coach is telling you, is directing you, is inviting you to do things. But if you don't do the workout, the teacher cannot do the workout for you, right? And if you don't do the workout, it's like you are almost, nothing happens. You cannot be in a workout and not to move, right? So workshop is like a workout. You need to work out of it, or work in it. How do we do this? First, we learn about the 4 dimensions of our being. If there is one thing I'd like you to remember from tonight, is the fact that we live simultaneously in 4 different dimensions. We have 4 different dimensions of our being. If I were to teach you tonight a class in Kabbalah and Zohar, I would start rambling about the names of these 4 worlds of Asiya, Briya, all these things. But we are not in a class of Kabbalah. We are in a class of how to touch the love in our heart. So all we do is we remember, in generality, of the big things in mystical Judaism. They teach us that we live simultaneously in 4 different worlds. We have 4 different aspects. I put the first one top, physicality. What is the word of physicality? It's the word of gashmiut, your body, right? You have a body, you have legs, hands, eyes. This is physicality. Something that you can touch it, see it, sense it with your 5 senses. The second word is the word of emotions. We know that it exists, we feel it. We see it sometimes if you really watch people's faces, right? The third one is the word of intellect, and the fourth one is the word of spirit. So the secret is to be able to have harmony and balance in these 4 worlds. I'd like you to remember these 4 words, and we go back to the idea that we are in a workshop. So from now on, anything that we talk, I'd like you to think about your life. Think about what is nice about it, what would you like to make it a little bit better, and say how you are going to harmonize these 4 worlds. Why is it so important to harmonize these 4 worlds? Now hopefully we can go gently to the next slide. Because if there is no harmony in these 4 worlds, we are like sitting in a broken leg chair. Each word is like a leg of a chair, and we are sitting on it, right? if one of the legs is not in the same size or in the same thing, then the chair is a little bit tilting, right? If we are not balancing our life with physicality, feeling our body, feeling strong body, touching our emotions, having some intellectual life and some spiritual life. Those are the four ones that need to be in harmony and balance with each other. I mean, they are not, then we are tilting and the energy doesn't flow in our body. We are learning in Jewish mystical that we have different type of energies, but if we were to majorly simplify that, we would say we have above energy and below energy. Spirit energy and body energy, we are going to work with that more in our meditations. Any comments, questions? All is clear? Can move on? Great. So how many dimensions do we have in our life? Four. Do they have to be in harmony?
Yes.
Yes. Are we going to, one more thing I forgot before we move on. In Masechet Sanhedrin in Talmud, they teach us that there are Sanhedrin. Sometimes, and I don't remember the page, but if you send me an email, I will give you the page. I'm not very good with pages.
No, I just didn't hear the word Sanhedrin.
That sometimes we have to think that the whole world is created for us. And in Hasidut, they take it further, and they said we need to have two pockets. In one pocket, we put this, that the whole world is created for us, and another pocket, we say that we are ashes and sands, and we are like a dot in this whole universe. And sometimes I think the blessing is to know when to reach on which pocket. Sometimes we have to reach this pocket, sometimes the other pocket. Tonight, I'd like to invite you to touch the pocket that says, the whole world is created for me. And why I'm inviting you to do that? Because with that thought comes responsibility for your life. Because when you say that the whole world is created for me, it's just for this short period of time that we are together. I'd like you to consider reaching this pocket. Because then whatever I say is part of the workout is for you to look at your life and say, how does this affect my life? How does it affect my life? Am I having enough exposures to emotions in my life? Do I do enough physical exercise or something? We are going to do a little bit of each now, tonight. And as some of you have been in my classes before, I called my classes here cheese and wine tasting. It's really cheese and wine tasting. Otherwise, I'm not truthful with you. I'm giving you a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But we are not going to take the whole bottle of wine in 1.5 hours. We are not going to touch in a major. You are just going to, it's like an experience. You are going to have a feeling of what it is to move your body, to sing, to have intellectual things we are going to see, and to meditate. So for now, I want you to do one thing before we move on. I want you to think for a second how much your heart is open. In the grade of 1 to 10, what grade would you give to your heart opening and feeling love in your heart? And it's just something between you and yourself. You don't have to tell it to anyone, but I'd like you to do that. To think about it, my heart is open 5, 6, maybe tonight is 3. Okay, remember the number? Because we are going to work with it later. Okay, now gently we are going to go to the next slide. We are in number 4. Come on, go to the number 4. If you wonder why I'm doing it like this, it's because the screen is too small for the whole thing, so we have to do it like that. We are going to see tonight, as I said, is a cheese and wine tasting. So we're going to have a taste of what is the power of love in our prayers. Hopefully next time you are in a shul and you are praying, you would see some of these prayers that you were doing it would be different, would be talking to you or helping you to open up your heart or touch the love in your heart. You see the power of love in the Bible, power of love in Pirkei Avot, the wisdom of our fathers, and the power of love in Kabbalah. Why am I putting all this before we actually get to some meditation of real things? It's because we want to see how important is the idea of love in Judaism. Because when we feel the love in our heart, Rabbi says we are alive. And when we don't, our body is moving, but really we don't have the vitality in our life. We are going to number 5, gently breathing in, breathing. Meditation takes us to the dimension number 4, which is spirituality. They are not in a hierarchy. They are really intertwined with each other, these 4 different worlds. But just to make our life easy, we think that we have a spirit and then we have intellect. As we see the Sfirot later, we see that they say that this energy is just like in our body, moving in our body. First, we need to start with our body. So please get up, stand on your feet. Remember, whatever we do now here is something you need to think about doing it during the week. You can't meditate or be really in prayers if you are not in touch with your body. So how can we be in touch with our body in a few seconds? Very simple. First of all, I'm so glad to see that almost no one has high heels. So we can stand on our feet. The way that we stand on our feet is that we move forward, backward, right and left. And we can do that also with our eyes closed. If you close your eyes for a few seconds, nothing is going to change here, promise. Go forward, backward, right and left, until at one point you actually feel the weight of your body on your feet. Do it as gently as you can until you feel, and once you feel the energy and the weight of your body on your feet, gently open up your eyes, because we are not in meditation, we are checking our body now. Okay, do you feel it? Is it different when you stand up like this? One more thing about our body. I learned these things in different classes I went for the last 30 years in Alexander Technique and Feldenkrais. If you haven't heard this word, please write it down. It's very important to know what is Feldenkrais and Alexander Technique. One of the things they teach us, especially in Alexander, that if our head is, they call it free savar, how do you call it? Savar? Free neck. If your neck is free, then your whole body is standing in a very good way. And what I learned, a trick, how we make our neck free, if you bring your head forward and then backward, gently, as much as you can, but gently, and then really backward. It's like your chin is touching your chest. Your chin is not touching. No, it's touching. Okay, and then leave it in a certain place that is more comfortable. If you do that a few times, at one point, you actually might feel that by doing this, you are massaging your whole vertebrate. Your whole vertebrate is aligning by just feeling your things. Yeah. As I said, we are just tasting the wine and cheese. So you are not going to have the whole cheese now with this. Please have a seat. We do one more thing with our body, which is a funny thing, but it's important to do it. It's a way of breathing that allows us to feel the breath more inside. So they are not looking at you. Feel free to do it, and I want everyone to do it if you feel like. There are 4 stages. The stage number 1, you take your tongue and you put it under your teeth here. Your tongue touches your teeth, lower teeth, inside. And then you allow your tongue to go down. And then you do as though you are going to smile. You're not smiling, but you make your face like this. And then you breathe out. Mouth has to be open because you are smiling. So I have to see your teeth. I don't see your teeth. Stage number 4, you close your mouth and you breathe through your nose. One more time. Well, the teeth, I don't see your teeth. You have teeth? Yes, you do. Your tongue has to be down. So if you are looking at yourself in the mirror, you can't see your tongue. I see your tongue. I see your tongue down, down. Much better. If you do that few times at one point, and then, if you do that few times seriously, you might start feeling that when you do, the energy is moving down here, and when you do, the energy opens up your chest here. And then instead of sitting like this or walking like this, you are actually opening up and sitting like this. And one more advertisement for the importance of the body and physicality. You can't imagine how much you are a different person when you are sitting or standing like this, or you are actually saying, I'm here, and life is good, and I feel okay, and my chest is open, so I can breathe, and I may even feel the love in my chest. I invite you strongly, if you are taking notes in your handwriting or in your mind, this breathing. Sometimes when I had a cold a few weeks ago, in the middle of the night, I hear myself doing like this. Poor husband has to hear all that. but truly, it makes a difference. Suddenly, I feel like my whole body relaxes. So in preparation for meditation, number one, we stand up and we feel if we are on our feet, our whole feet. And then also I like to do some work with our shoulders, but we have so much thing going on. So if you are taking note, please write down. You want to do some exercise with your legs. Let's do one exercise with our shoulder, even in sittings. Bring your shoulders up as much as you can, tense it. This is number 10. And then gently you bring your shoulders back, and then gently, slowly bring it 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 10, 1. So any place you are, if you want to start feeling if you are in touch with your body, you do it standing, you sit, and then in front of people, you don't have to do, you can just gently do. And when you get more advanced and you are totally comfortable with that, you can even count till 5 between these two, which means you close your mouth and do. Actually, you start the breathing. You start with your. We are all comfortable with this. So we are moving to the next one. Now we are going to go to the gently we breathe in, breathe out. Hopefully we go there. The paragraph in our prayers. I don't know how often you go to shul and what you do when you go to shul. Hopefully if you do go to shul, you don't talk and you are concentrating on the prayers. Please notice next time you are opening your siddur how many times we have Ahava, Ahava Rabbah. What is the most important, well-known prayer that we all know? Shema, Israel, Hashem Eloheinu, Hashem Echad, right? Who can tell me what prayer we have before that? Well, of course, you have it here. Before we have Shema Israel, we have a prayer called Ahava Rabbah Ahavtanu. Ahava Rabbah Ahavtanu. This is the prayer we have before the Shema. And please, please don't forget, before you say Shema, you say that because it's important. Ahava Rabbah Ahavtanu, with a great love, you love us. With a great love, you love us. Think about that when I'm drinking my water. With a great love, with an abundant love, have you loved us? Look, Ahava Rabbah Ahavtanu.
It's a great love, and you have loved us.
Yes, that you loved us with a great love, with an abundant love.
It's a great love.
And then, of course, if you remember those who go to shul in Shabbat, we have this song, Ahava Rabba Haftanu Adonai Eloheinu Chem Lagdola. Yeah, but I noticed sometimes, I had a shul in Tzfat, congregation in Tzfat, and it took a while until they agreed that they would pray with their eyes closed. But truly, once they start praying with their eyes closed, they start feeling the meanings. And they would come to me and say, Rabbi Shira, I never noticed that before. I've been going to shul for 20 years on Shabbat. I said, this is wonderful. This is like a newborn baby. Before we go to Shema, we feel the love of God, the love that God has for us. We feel that we are loved, to say it simply. And if you don't feel that you are loved, it's okay. It means that the love is in our heart. Sometimes the way that they explain that is like there is a lamp, and the lamp has light, but the lamp has also lampshades. And if the lampshade is very thick, then the light doesn't come out. Sometimes things happened in our life, and the lampshade had become thick. Sometimes we closed down our heart because we were hurt, even sometimes as a baby, as a child, or for those of us who believe in our different past lives, in experiences we had in different times in our neshama. So our heart is closed. We don't feel that we are loved. I remember once they did an experiment asking people, how many of you were really, truly felt that you were loved as children? And not many have risen their hands. And I'm sure that they were loved, but sometimes we don't want to feel this love because it hurt us anyway. And then we stay in this state. After we feel or we know, at least we now know it in an intellectual level, right? That Ahava Rabbah, that God loves us. And then we come and say Shema. And then after Shema, we say V'ahavta et Hashem Elohecha, and you shall love your God. Yes?
In my shul, which I go to every Shabbat, we don't say Hashem, we say Adonai. Is it a different siddur? What is it?
When we pray, we say Adonai. But now we are not praying. So I change it to Hashem. There are some ideas that once we write the name, and then I find that I do have actually some places the name Adonai.
So you also, when she'll say the Shema, that would be
I say Shema Israel Adonai, yeah.
Okay.
But now we are not praying, we are learning about it. So just to be in a safe side, I say Hashem. And to be honest with you, the word Lord doesn't talk to me. I don't know why.
Well, that's why
It reminds me of when I lived in California. And Lord loves you. We have Hashem, we have God. Lord is for people who have Lord. It's a title, right. You shall love your God. And then remember, it says with your heart and with your soul and with your resources, which I really like to translate with all your might. It's important to understand that the prayer is not just 3 words. It means that you truly have to work on loving. And I brought you wonderful things about Rav Kook, which I'm not sure how much I'm going to read for you if you have the time, but promise those of you who would send me an email, I would send it to you. Rav Kook basically is saying that loving God is loving yourself, loving your friends, loving your people, loving the nation, loving every single being in the earth. And he goes to animals and plants too. Rav Kook goes there. It's not like a renewal things, right?
The plants love us too.
Pardon?
The plants love us.
Yes, exactly. Okay, we are moving on. Any questions, comments? Is all clear? Yes? So if you like to have a touch of love in your heart, next time you pray, and if you don't go to shul, this is a prayer that we are supposed to do at least 3 times a day. So in the morning when you do Shema Israel, or before you fall asleep, you say Shema Israel. Before you do Shema Israel, put your hands in your heart, close your eyes, do a little bit of meditation that we are going to do later in terms of feeling the energy there. And then say Shema. Yes?
It's interesting that you spoke about the 4 realms in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
That it was soul and the physical, the body and the intellect
And
the spirit.
no, emotions.
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 So when it talks here about loving God, it says your heart. It only says three: your heart, your soul, and
Yes.
your resources. So it doesn't. It's not mentioning the intellect.
The body.
The intellect. It's not mentioning. Well.
You can pick and choose. You are right. Only three.
But I guess.
What are resources? Which
I think that's your physical. That's physical, right?
Well,
the intellectual.
we know that's a very good question. So I wasn't sure if I want to tell you the story, but some of you may have known the story that you know the end of Rabbi Akiva. That Rabbi Akiva, when they were actually killing him, they were torturing him in a big way, and they said there was something like a fork with it's horrible, with a fork, the metal fork that they were putting in his body and his skin, and that's the way they were killing him. And they hear him, and they said, his students were around him and said, Rav, what are you doing? And they said, he's smiling. And I said, what are you smiling about? He said, all my life, when I prayed, I knew what it is to love my God with my heart and with my soul. I never understood what it means to pray God with all my might. And now that they are putting the fork in my skin, I understand that this is my opportunity to love God with all my might. This is Rabbi Akiva.
Normally, V'chol Decha is translated with all my being.
Yes, yes.
My essence.
Right, you're right. You can take it wherever. I looked at a few different books. This is from Art Scroll. But you're right. Modecha could be all of my being. And I think that's what Rabbi Akiva did, that he says, now that my last breath, yes. And then with his last breath, he said, Shema Israel, and his breath went out. Let's move on from the sad story, which is really not sad in terms of, I don't want to touch this one. Okay, we are number. I must tell you something. Sometimes, in my other past lives, I worked as a high-tech executive managing high-tech companies. And whenever I saw someone doing something like this that doesn't seem very professional, I would say myself, why this person didn't do his homework before preparing things? So I would like to tell you that for 1 hour, I was playing with my computer and the screen and here, and the real screen is so big that goes from here to there. And I couldn't really manage to bring the projector to the real screen, so we managed to put it in a small one. But that's the price that we pay for it, that we come down like that. And now we are, number here, continuation. Why do I bring you that? Because it's important to understand that Judaism has prayers, and prayers have something to do with our life. When we pray Amidah, Shmona Esrei, or really Shah Esrei, 19 paragraphs it has, we say, we are talking to God and saying, and their prayer accept with love and favor. It's like we are talking to God and saying, God, don't forget to accept our prayer with love, right? It's not just accept it. This back and forth of we loving God and God loving us is continuing. And then we have it here established, and then we have it on the last one, Sim Shalom, is the last paragraph of our prayer, Amidah. We say, Kulanu ke'echad be'or panecha, that we are all one in the light of your eyes. And then we says, I'm very sorry, I made a major mistake, that don't show that in your screen. The Torah of life and the love of kindness. Okay? I wrote these two to remind myself to tell you that also part of cleansing our heart is to do the prayer in the morning. Every morning, one of the first prayers we do is Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorai. God, the soul that you are bringing to my life, to my body, to my being every morning is pure. And when we do that, we really meditate on realizing that we are waking up to a pure new soul every morning. So we can't really criticize ourselves because now we have a brand new pure soul. And every night when we go to sleep, in our bedtime prayer, there is a prayer I invite strongly to look at it. It's called Ribono Shel Olam. Ribono Shel Olam is a different name for God. Ribono Shel Olam is like the master of universe. And then we continue for forgiveness and say, this is one of my major prayers. Please do take a note. You don't have to be very religious or less, but this is something you don't want to miss. Ribono Shel Olam, Master of Universe, hereby I forgive everybody, everything they do to me, whether to my body, to my money, financial, to my soul, whether in this lifetime, to other lifetimes. It says that. I'm not making it up. It says in this lifetime, other lifetimes, and then says, and if I did anything to anybody, God, forgive me too. I forgive others. What it does really is what we have it in our rabbi said, it's forbidden to hate anybody in your heart. Because your heart has a capacity. It's like a container. It's like a container. And when you hate somebody in your heart, part of the container is filled up with bad energy. Right? And if this is filled up with the energy of hatred, then you have that much left for love. But once you are, every night you are cleansing your heart, saying, I forgive. I forgive. I take it out of my heart. And then you are forgiving yourself too. I say, God, I forgive myself. You can forgive me if I have done anything. So then you are going to sleep with a pure, clean heart, and you wake up with a clean soul. It makes sense, right? You went to sleep clearly.
Except that sometimes it's hard to forgive people.
It's very hard to forget. It's much easier said than done. But that's the whole point. That's the whole point. You are in a workout, my friend. I said it's not a lecture. Okay, we are moving along. Is it number 7? Yes, so we move to number 8. That you are not supposed to take revenge, right? Oh, something very important. I was going to tell you that. Do you know why they said at the end of this, Ani Hashem, Ani Adonai? They said you should not hate people and you should love your neighbor or your other people like yourself, Ani Hashem. Why do they have to say Ani Hashem? Why? We don't know that God is God. Tell me.
To emphasize a command.
Yes, to be. Is to emphasize what's it that is not something. I'm telling you that, right? But also perhaps we'll see that in the next prayer also. Maybe what he's telling us is that when we do these things, we come close to feel that there is a God. They said, you want to feel, you want to be in connection with me? Do what I say. Mm-hmm. Don't hate others. Don't keep grudges. Love them. And then you are in connection with me. This is my phone number. This is my email address, God is telling us. Mm-hmm. Right? You want to call me? Do what I said. Call this number. Mm-hmm. And okay, and this is not the first time. We can see if we can manage to go to the next slide, that also in the next slide, number 9. If you have strangers in your neighborhood, among you, be nice to them too. And again, I am the God. I am your Lord, your God. Again, I am the one who took you out of Egypt. I am still around. You want to talk to me? You want to be in touch with me? Do as I said. Is that clear? Am I saying something that you didn't know, but I'm just reminding you, right? We all know that. It's just that during the day there is so much going on that we forget. So we come to this workshop to remind ourselves. Yes?
And what about
Someone wakes up.
Hi?
I think someone wakes up.
No, and what about all these migrants
I was just thinking that
from Sudan and Eritrea, and how are we treating them?
It's a major question.
How about the revenge of the tag, whatever is
Tag
terrorist?
Mafia.
Right.
Every individual has to answer to God themselves.
Right. No, but those are the very good questions. You know, when I think about that, I say I'm so glad that I'm not someone in the government making major decisions, because honestly, truly, it's a very complicated question.
Yeah. I'm connecting to all of this from a different.
Yes.
I work in the education system.
Yes.
This year's Ministry of Education theme is "The Other Is Me," and the other is me.
Yeah.
And if you look around in what's going on in this country, it's like not that.
It's directly the opposite.
And a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, he's also a friend, and he's a Muslim. I work in the Bedouin sector. I don't work in the Jewish sector.
Okay.
And
we don't take it against you.
I work in the
Yes.
Bedouin sector, and I'm very, very upset about what happened in Tivon with Adam Verta. Extremely upset.
Yes.
What happened there?
Well, we will talk about it. We'll talk about it. At the end
So
of
I've
the
been in
class.
contact with my colleague, I won't say his name because he lives here in Birkat, and with his family, and and he wrote something about, well, the other is me theme, and maybe there is another me, that the other is, putting, that he's actually the one they're referring to, and I haven't, I just haven't been able to
It's
put my
very
head
hard.
around that, and I wrote back to him, I can't even think about that.
It's very hard. It's very hard to take these things and look at it, what's going on around me. The way that I cope with this myself is that I truly, and I'm not saying that, I really do my best I can to have a clear air around me in my house, anywhere I go, any people I come in contact with. And I think that the most we can do is to clear out as much as we can our circles. And the bigger the circle, the more hard work we have to do.
I have a very hard time with looking at all of this and living the reality that I live today.
Yes, I understand. I understand.
It just
And then
doesn't-
also
it just
what the
don't go.
lady said about the immigrants, it's not
the same
easy.
thing.
It's not
I had an
easy.
immigrant student. I had 2 Sudanese students in my class.
I used to live in California, and when they used to pass these laws of taking the
migrant workers.
the illegal ones
Yeah,
out of I said, this is not, I used to fight a lot that what are we teaching our children, taking them out of the classrooms. But now that we are in a much smaller country and we go to South Tel Aviv, we really have to understand that it's a very, very complex, very complex. Let's move on to something more simple like changing the slide. We did that, we loved our God. Somebody's head is, can you move your head? Somebody's head here, yeah. Thank you. It's a very technical problem we have. Okay, we did that. Yes, we'll go to number 12. And this is Jeremiah. Jeremiah is saying that God told me that God loves me, and we love loving kindness. And the reason I brought that is that sometimes in our religion people talk about the prophets, the tzaddik, as though they are something out there, and they were, and like these animals that finished and they don't exist anymore, dinosaurs or things like this, distinguished. But what I learned in our mysticism, that we all have to think of ourselves sometimes taking responsibility like Moses, feeling the love of God for us like Jeremiah, that those are like not really distinguished law, extinguished beings. Those are there for telling us that if we also feel the love of God for us and do it maybe we will also have a tiny micro experience of Jermeo. And you would see that it's possible. It's really possible. Of course, if you are in cheese and wine tasting, you don't get drunk. But if you get the whole bottle of wine with you, you might enjoy more drinkings. What I'm saying is that tonight we are just doing a tasting. But if you take these things more seriously and work on it, then you might feel different. Okay. This one, anybody is keeping the time to see how much time left, because we have a lot of things going.
5 or 6. It's 5 to 6. You've got another 40 minutes.
Fantastic. Please let me know when I have 20 minutes, because I don't want to rush the last important ones. But I rush here now. Pirkei Avot, we are all familiar with it from our Mishnah. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had 5 major students, and he's asking his students, what is it? The best trait for a person. And one says a good eyes, one said a good behavior, good neighbor. And then Rabbi Elazar, the son of Arach, Elazar ben Arach, what does he say? The good heart. And he says a good heart is the best answer because it really embodies all other answers. And then he asks the same question, which is the worst trait, the one that a person should most distance himself from. And the rabbi said evil eye, another one says evil friend, evil neighbor, to borrow and not to repay. And then again we have our friend Rabbi Elazar ben Arach says evil heart, and he says this is the right answer. So we can see that what they are telling us, if I were to simplify it, that when the heart is pure, then we have embodied all the other ones. And when our heart is not, then we have Yetzer Hara. Which reminds me just to tell you something about Yetzer Hara, which I discovered years ago. Anytime you have a thought that makes you really feel bad about life, about people, about yourself, you can guess where this thought is coming from. Yetzer Hara, it doesn't mean that it comes evil and says, I am ugly, I'm going to make your life miserable. It comes gently, like a nice little thought. But the thing is that when you are thinking about that, you feel upset. You feel upset in a bad way. You feel upset about someone, about situation that makes you feel more upset. You have experienced that sometimes without really coming to anything positive. So then you know that it's coming from the evil eye or evil Yetzer Hara. And you can say, yes, this is coming from not a good place in me. You can say that to yourself. Write it in your workshop, please. Yes?
Does anger fall under?
It depends. It depends. I mean, we have a lot of things that says God doesn't get angry, and we have Hillel's experience that he never gets angry. But what I think I find that mostly in Arabs, if there is an anger that makes you move on and do things to repair it, then it's a positive anger. If it's an anger that makes you more angry and jumping on yourself and others and making everybody, including yourself, miserable, then maybe it's not a good anger. Anybody else wants to comment? Okay, we take another breathe in, breathe out, and then we are moving. We came to number 13, right? Pirkei Avot, and so we move on from Pirkei Avot. I've never done this like that before, you know? Okay. Now we come to the part of our Kabbalah and Zohar. As I said, we are not here really to learn about Zohar. We are here to learn how the Kabbalah is teaching us something that we can be useful in our life. And what it's teaching us is that there are 10 different levels, so 10 different dimensions that they are called Sfirot. The top one is called Keter, and the bottom one is called Malchut. And the Kabbalists took these 10 Sfirot, 10 different levels of energies, and they kind of superimposed it in our body. And they said that the Keter is above our head, and the Malchut is under our feet, and the Tiferet is in our heart. So those are the three that we are going to basically look at it and work on it in our meditation a little bit. The Keter is above our head. Tiferet is our heart. It's okay. God is calling, saying that we are all right.
No, just
Yes, question. Okay.
What does Tiferet mean?
Tiferet, glory, it really is a heart energy. Heart energy, energy of the heart. Yes, is the balance between the two other ones. The right hand is called Chesed and the left hand is called Gvura. The right hand Chesed is the abundant love that we love people, we give anything we want. That's what we usually call it, the abundance of love, Chesed. And Gvura is the one that puts limits. When the parents are telling the child, Ad Kan, this is it, we are not going to do that, this is putting boundaries, that comes from the Gvura.
Gvura is also called din.
Yes, yes. I mean, the boundaries come with the din, correct. But what we are really connecting tonight is to know that there is an energy above our head, it's called Keter, and the one below our feet is called Malchut, and the one in our heart is called Tiferet. Okay, now is a song here. We are switching gear because it's important also to be in touch with our feelings. We said there are 4 different words. So now we are going to sing together. And I need you, huh?
Where is this? Is this in the chorus?
This is really what is called Birkat Kohanim.
Oh, yeah.
And it's translated loosely. I learned that maybe 25 years ago with my beloved Rabbi Schechter Shalomi in the state, and my Rabbi David Blank, may he live in peace up there. They taught me this song, and we are going to do some things with this song in a few minutes. So I need you to sing with me, because I'm Shira shelo shara bederech klal. I'm the Shira who doesn't sing. But for this one, I allow myself to take a little bit of water and sing. It's important to sing this, and I like you to remember the melody, because it's a melody that you can sing with yourself whenever you feel like singing and you don't remember any special song that ease you into a good place. You can always sing this. And it goes like this. May the blessing of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. All together. May the blessing of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. One more time. May the blessing of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. I need a volunteer.
For what?
Come, you come. Yeah. I'm not going to bite usually.
No, but I don't sing.
I don't want you to sing.
Okay.
What we are going to do, we are going to do this together, and then we are going to have a circle. But before we do the circle, I like you to see what we are going to do.
Okay.
Whatever I do to you, you do to me.
Okay.
May the blessing of God rest upon you. You do it.
I'm not going to sing.
No. May the blessing of God rest till the end.
Oh, to the end.
Yeah. I did it until your shoes. May the blessing of God rest upon you. Unless you have bad knees, then don't do it. We had in one of my classes, a lady came at the end of the class and said, Rabbi Shira, your class was marvelous, but my knee, I bent it too much. I said, why did you do that? Okay, that's the first part, right? May the blessing, you will do it to each other. Rest upon, yes, at the same time. Then the second one, may God's peace, your right hand is like this. Your right hand is on top of your right. No. Your right hand gives, your left hand receives. Right hand gives. Right? May God's peace abide with you. And then please notice, we are looking at each other into each other's eyes and smiling. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart. Yes, exactly. Your right hand is touching above the chest, and your left hand is holding
I think you
the hand.
reversed that.
Like that.
Okay.
Your right hand is
It's
touching.
touching your heart.
Yes, above, yeah.
Okay.
May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. Shall we do it one more time?
Whatever you like.
What about you? You want to do
Okay.
it? May the presence of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your hearts now and forevermore. Thank you. What is your name?
Miriam.
Miriam, toda raba. Thanks. Okay, now that you are expert on that, please get up and make 2 circles. No, this you can't do it. This is not a real meditation. This is preparation for meditation. Okay, now we are going to count 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Then your right leg moves 1 step and you exchange partner. It means that this young nice lady moves to here and you move to that and you move to there. The inner circle does not move. This is not discussion part.
I'll never get it. Coordination.
No, it's fine. You stay inside the circle,
Okay,
you do not
okay.
move. You move
thank goodness.
here, you move instead of this young nice lady. Okay?
Who's gonna move? You?
She moves.
I move.
You are not moving. You are inside. You are inside. You are inside. You are inside. You are not moving. The outside just moves. Just the outer circle moves. We are starting. May the blessing of God rest upon you. May God's peace, hands, yes. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. Now the other one moves 1 step to the next partner. Okay, you don't need to say goodbye. You are going to see her again soon. You are going in front of her. You're going to. May the blessing of God rest upon you. May God's peace, hands. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. Outer circle moves 1 partner. Outer circle is moving 1 partner. Rest upon you. Look at each other's eyes. Hands. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart, not the heart. now and forevermore.
You said the right hand.
Right hand receives, left hand gives.
No, this is my left hand. This is my right hand.
Okay, you are right. I'm confused. Moving, one more partners. Moving along. May the blessing of God rest upon you. May the, move. May the blessing of God rest upon you. May God's peace, hands, abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your hearts now and forevermore. Move one more partner. May the blessing of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. You look at each other's eyes. Moving our partner. May the blessing of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. Your heart is not there. May the blessing of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. One more. May the blessing of God. At the beginning. May the last time. May the blessing of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. Now please have a seat. Thank you very much. You did a great job of heart opens up when we receive blessing and we give blessing. Remember the word Natan in Hebrew, actually in English too sometimes. You can read it from both sides. Is the same. Natan is nun, taf, nun.
Yeah,
Nun, taf, nun is Natan, means to give, right? And if you, so it's on, in our giving we receive, in our receiving we give. 20 minutes, thank you. Now we are going to move to the real meditation. In a kind of from time to time, check with yourself to see what is the gauge in your heart. Has it changed a bit? Has it changed? If it were 2 or 3, has it moved up or went down? What happened to the gauge in your heart? Has gone up for you? Yes? Good. It means that you can actually give blessings and receive blessings from each other. We don't have to wait for Shabbat only to go and get Birkat Kohanim, right? Interesting. Now we are going to move to the real meditation. For the meditation, I need to show you something about sitting. May I borrow your chair for a second? Thank you. When we sit for meditation, you excuse me, I'm going to sit with my back to you, but it's important for me to show you that you sit with both of your feet on the ground. You come to the edge of the chair. If that's the edge of the chair, you sit. You sit when all your part of your lower part is on the chair. You feel all your weight where it should be, here. And you take your shoulders all the way back, and then you bring it down. So when you are sitting and you do the play with your neck, whatever you need to do, in order to feel your feet on the ground, and this way you can sit for hours. Honestly, you can. Yes, I've done it. It works. Okay.
Much happier cross-legged.
Okay. And we do the meditation with our eyes closed. But if it's very, very difficult for you to close your eyes, it's fine. You look down, because no one is supposed to look at each other. We like to feel we have our own privacy. We have our own bubble around us, right? So we don't look at each other. You don't look at me. I'm not going to change, going anywhere. I'm the same what was when you had your eyes open, as you're going to have your eyes closed. So please feel free. And your hands and feet are separate. So you can close your now. So either you close your eyes or you look down. And say hello to yourself. And let yourself to be totally at the center of your head. Center of your head is a junction of two lines. One line inside connects between your two ears. Another line goes from your nose to the back of your head. Yes, the connection, the junction of these two lines is the center of your head. When you are in the center of your head, let yourself to be even more at the center of your head. Now open up your mouth when you are at the center of your head and do your breathing gently. Breathe out the way that you have learned it so beautifully. With the eyes closed. And then close your mouth and breathe in through your nose and stay in the center of your head. So now gently breathe out 3 times. Let yourself to be more at the center of your head. And from the center of your head, say hello to yourself. Let your mouth be open when you breathe out. I want to see your teeth, or at least your lips, separate from each other so the breath can come out nicely and gently. From the center of your head, push your feet to the ground so you actually feel the ground under your feet. And check your posture. Is your posture comfortable for you? Your head in the right place? If you feel like you need to move on, move your shoulders. V'taher libeinu, v'taher libeinu, v'taher libeinu le'avdecha be'emet. Does anyone knows how to sing this? I want to ask you, Miriam. Not you and not I. Next time when you are in Shul on Shabbat and you sing v'taher libeinu, what we did now in our meditation, we did Taharat libeinu, we purified our heart. When in the morning you wake up and you do the prayer, Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehora bi, God, the soul that you instill now this morning in my body is a pure one. You are doing Taharat, your heart. When at night you go to sleep and you say Ribono shel olam, what do you say after Ribono shel olam? Hereby I forgive anybody. And you forgive is not that you are going to love them. No, it means that you don't keep grudges. You don't allow the container to become half full with garbage, excuse me, but that's the best word I can use, right? That's the word. You purify, you empty the cup in order to allow the pure light to come in it. So I like to take a few minutes, allow each one of you to go to your own life for a few seconds and think about in an intellectual. Now you remember how many dimensions of being we have in ourselves? 4. Now we did meditation, and prayers, which is a little bit of the spirit. We moved our body a little bit. We tried to sing a song with beautiful singer like me. But you did beautifully with our singing. And so we did a little bit of emotion. Now I'd like you to think for a few seconds in your own life. Next week, is there something that you need to do in order for the chair to have the 4 harmonious legs in terms of emotions? Do you sing enough? Do you dance enough? Do you write Do you do anything that would touch you with your emotions? And in intellectual level, do you study Talmud? Why not? It's beautiful. Great. Tell me your name.
Susan Lazenby.
Can't hear you.
Susan Lazenby.
Susan, it's great.
Fuchsburg and with David Bolinkin on Shabbat.
Fantastic. Yes.
And I started from nothing.
Yes. Studying Talmud.
Talmud.
Study Talmud. It's a very good intellectual thing to do.
Where did she do it?
She does it.
Rosh Hashanah with David Bolinkin on Shabbat.
Yeah.
And in Fuchsburg with Rabbi Schindler on Thursday.
Yes.
Oral law with
In
Rabbi
Jerusalem.
Schindler.
In Jerusalem.
In Jerusalem.
Anybody who wants to start learning Talmud, just send me an email, and I would find a way for you to start. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful intellectual, spiritual, whatever you want to call it. And in terms of the body work, do you go to Feldenkrais? Do you take Alexander Technique classes? Do you do yoga? Do you do any movement?
How about walking? Does that count?
Walking counts if at the end of the walking you sit and you say, I love my body, I enjoy it. Because that's what happens when you do other things of movement.
I do yoga every day, basically.
Fantastic.
And I had started meditating, but I stopped. That's why I came here.
Yes, fantastic. And then, of course, it's wonderful to take the prayers seriously. You can go in the internet and find different songs for different prayers and pick up one that you like and sing it along. Sing it, Adon Olam, anything that talks to you, and you would see the difference. So I want you to take a few minutes and really make a commitment to yourself. Right?
Is your email address on this paper?
Yes, thank you for asking. Now we hold on our breath and we go to the last slide. Are we in the last slide? No.
Well,
I don't know what happened to our last slide. We did this, we did this. Thank you, Litraot. See you soon. Rabbi Shira Israel, and my email, israelshira@gmail.com. Please feel free. Actually, I'd like you to write to me and tell me how we are doing with the four-legged chair. Are the legs equally in balance? Are they in harmony with each other? I didn't give you a handout because sometimes people leave the handout here and there's the name of God in it. But if you like to see the handout, send me an email address. I'll be happy to forward you a professionally PowerPoint handout. And also I would give you as a bonus the writings of Rav Kook. If you can please give me the book. There is a yellow book there. Someone in one of my classes recently, they asked me, Rav Shira, give me one book to read.
Where is the book?
It should be somewhere there. I said, do you see any yellow thingy? Rav Kook, Orot HaKodesh. Sometimes when you don't, Abraham Isaac Cook. Translated in English.
You give us a copy?
No, I will send you in email. It's called The Essential Writings of Abraham Isaac Cook. Essential Writings. And here there are some writings about self-love, about the importance of the body exercise, about the importance of how to purify our heart. And what I find very interesting in the book is that sometimes you just open up something and it talks about a special path, or it talks about the faith. And it doesn't matter what it talks about. They said what it comes from the heart connects to the heart. You can read it for a few lines and then suddenly you connect with something really bigger than our consciousness. And it's a type of meditation. One of the nice things I find is that at one point he is really trying to tell Rav Berlin that he messed up something and he did a very bad work with the newspaper of Ha'ivri. And the way that he says that, it's so beautiful, it's so gentle, it's so much with loving and kindness that just for reading his letter to Rav Berlin is worth having this book. If you send me an email, I would send you the letter that he wrote to Rav Berlin, and then something about pure hearts and pure love. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
May the blessing of God rest upon you. May God